Okay, so now in this example, here we have to be very careful. Well, not careful, that's not the right word. But you have to understand, you have to know your prefixes. So here's where the SI system comes in, the metric system. So again, go and make sure you know all of the different prefixes for the metric system. Okay, as far as the mega, right? So there's milli, right? Centi, hecto, milli, mega, giga, septa, micro. All of these different prefixes mean either really small values, really small measurements, or really large measurements. Okay, so again, so what we're going to do is we're going to convert all of these to different magnitudes, right, using engineering notation. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take each one of these, we're going to use the engineering notation to rewrite these, and then use the prefixes to replace the power of 10 factor, right? Because remember what I said, each group of 3 represents a change in magnitude, okay? So we're going to use that. And then, by the way, that's what the prefixes represent too, okay? The difference between micro and milli, right, is a power of 10, right? So, or some power of 10. So you've got to be careful of that. Okay, so now, let's take these ohms. So we've got these ohms here, and let's write this in engineering notation. So the first thing I'm going to do is write it in engineering notation before I replace the prefix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I got 6, so that's a multiple of 3, right? So now I'm going to write this as what? 4.382 times 10 to the 6th power, and this is in ohms, right? Now, because this is a power of 6, that puts me in the millions. And so what prefix represents millions? Mega. Okay? So this is equal to 4.382 mega ohms. And that's the answer. Now, what about this one? Angstroms. Okay, so now we've got this many angstroms. So now I'm going to move it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I have to move it over multiples of 3 until I get a number that's between 1 and 1,000. So I'm going to put a 0 here. And so what does that mean? Well, this is equal to then 10 times 10 to the negative 6th power. And these are still angstroms, right? All I did was rewrite it. Okay? All I did was take this and rewrite it this way. The units are still the same. But now I've got 10 to the negative 6th power, which means I'm dividing by a million. So this is 1/1,000,000th, right? So what's 1/1,000,000th of an angstrom? A micro angstrom. So this would be equal to 10 micro angstroms. Okay? And again, make sure you know the symbolism for each one of the prefixes. Okay? You got to memorize them. Okay? Look online. You can find tables of the prefixes online or in your textbook. Okay? Okay, so now here we've got 5,870 microwatts. Now this number is not in engineering notation. So let's put it in engineering notation. So again, the decimal point is here. So I need to move it over multiples of 3 until I get a number that's between 1 and 1,000. So 1, 2, 3, and I stop. Okay, so this is going to equal 5.87 times 10 to the third microwatts. Again, the units don't change at this point. Now that I have this, now it will change. Okay, so I'm already at microwatts. So, and I've got 10 to the third. Okay, so I've got microwatts and I've got 10 to the third, right? Remember what micro means. It's 1 million, so it's 10 to the negative sixth, right? So if I take 10 to the negative sixth, right? So think of it this way. This is 10 to the third times 10 to the negative sixth, which gives me 10 to the negative third, right? 10 to the negative third. So what magnitude is 10 to the negative third? That's going to be milli, right? That's 1/1000th, right? So just like millimeter, right? Millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. So if I have 10 to the third, and I know micro means 10 to the sixth, or negative sixth, I should say, and if I combine these, because it's multiplication, right? So this is going to be 3 minus 6, or 3 plus a negative 6, which gives me negative 3, which now goes from micro to milli. So I'm going to rewrite this. So this many microwatts, which is equal to this many microwatts in engineering notation, which is equal to 5.87 milliwatts. Okay. Now, what about this one? This is 3,500 megahertz. Okay. Mega is 10 to the sixth, right? 10 to the sixth power is megahertz. Mega. Okay. It's 1 million. So I'm going to write this in engineering notation, right? So I got to move the decimal point over 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to write this as 3.5 times 10 to the third power, and this is still megahertz. But now I've got mega, which is 10 to the sixth, and plus what? 10 to the third, or times 10 to the third. So now I'm going 3 more place values. So now it becomes 10 to the ninth. And so 10 to the ninth is billions, right? And so in the billions, we use the prefix giga. Oops. So this would be 3.5 gigahertz. And I believe this is where we get the idea of 3G, right? 3G, 5G. I believe, I have to look it up, but I'm pretty certain that we're talking about gigahertz, okay? You got AM and FM frequencies, but I believe this is the frequencies we're dealing with when you're talking about your cell phone and you're talking about, oh, I've got a 5G network. I suspect that has to be dealing with the frequency. Okay? But anyway, that's it. This is how you do it. Let me know if you have any questions.